Even though she was born in April, Mr. and Mrs. Ball called their first daughter June. They liked to think ahead to a brighter future, but the future didn't turn out the way they expected. Around the world, war took hold. Mr. Ball joined the British Army and was killed in service. Mrs. Ball went back to her home village in India.
But her family there wouldn't accept her mixed-race child. They took one look at 2-year-old June's too white skin and sent her away to an orphanage. The rest of June's childhood was spent living in one institution or another. Then one day, when she was 16 years old, she got a call. England was desperate for nurses, and she had been chosen to help. Perhaps that brighter future lay ahead. But when June got to England, the country that had been so desperate to welcome her and that had promised her everything, quickly made her feel excluded and unwanted. The authorities despised her, strangers judged her, her colleagues turned their back on her, patients took one look at her too brown skin and wouldn't even let her touch them.
Perhaps you know something of the anger that wells up inside when people around are cruel to you for no good reason, who refuse to extend you common courtesy, who treat you like you don't really matter. June's story reminds me of the first Easter, when Jesus faced a similar barrage of injustice. The crowds that had been so desperate to welcome him with hosannas and waving palm branches quickly made him feel excluded and unwanted. The authorities despised him, strangers judged him, colleagues turned their backs on him. Those who needed his help the most didn't want him anywhere near them. That week in Jerusalem, it was not only Jesus who was being made to feel excluded and exploited. People from all around the world who were expecting a warm welcome into the city were being driven out by those more interested in making money than by showing dignity to others. Jesus was angry, not about the injustices done to him, but about the injustices being done to those around him. He went to the temple not to pray, but to start a riot. Grabbing a whip, he drove out those who had been driving out others. He turned the tables on those who had been turning others away. He cleared a space for those who had been denied the space God intended them to have. Jesus' defiance got people's attention. I'm reminded of a man carrying 2 plastic bags, standing in front of a tank in Tiananmen Square and refusing to move. I'm reminded of a woman arrested for sitting in the wrong seat of a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, 1955. I'm reminded of the man in a crowd at the Blohm and Voss shipyard in Hamburg who refused to salute the Nazis. I'm reminded of June, who was so angry at being excluded that she grabbed a wok and invited anyone and everyone for dinner every week for the rest of her life. She fought hostility with hospitality. She used the power of welcome as a form of defiance, her weapon of choice against selfishness and xenophobia. She couldn't stop the racism, but she could and did start a revolution of love. Before long, people from all over town were enjoying her curry and making and meeting friends. June was my mother. And like Jesus in the temple at that first Easter week, she taught me the importance of challenging injustice. They both remind me that it's okay to be angry when things aren't right in the world, and it's good to use that anger to help make the future a bit brighter for those around us. If you have been challenged to take your hospitality to the next level this Easter, perhaps look at our website, sanctuaryfoundation.org.uk. to find out how you can be involved in welcoming and supporting refugees into your homes and communities.